everyone, welcome back. My name is Noelle, and today we're going to be talking about none other than The Boy Who Lived, the fourth installment of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which I think we can safely say that I really enjoyed this book and my experience with it, even though it took me forever actually to finish reading this book. Alright, so if you are by chance watching this video and you haven't read this book, you're safe for the first part. I'm going to do a non-spoiler, and if you have read it, I would not say skip to the spoiler part because I will be talking about things that are important either way, just mainly about writing and pacing and characters and plot and things like that are non-spoiler. If you haven't read the other three, I would say it's still mostly safe. You wouldn't be spoiled necessarily of specific things that happen in the previous books. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. If you want to know my rating, I want to know my rating too, because honestly, I don't know yet. Maybe we'll figure it out by the end of the video. Find out. Alright, if my hair is looking silly, please, let's ignore it. Let's not talk about it. So, pacing. This book is immediately darker than all the rest. You start out from a different point of view than the rest of the books, and I think that really adds in some perspective of, it is hard to do non-spoiler, but it adds in some perspective of not such a great person, and I think that it adds some depth. I would say that the pace is medium paced versus fast as the first two are, and it allows for more details and for more character backstories. For the characters, you get to know more about the characters, both villain and not villains. She introduces a lot more characters, and I think that it's really nice because her story is starting to get more complex than the other three, whereas the first two you kind of deal with the same people that you met in the first book. And then the third book, she introduces some new characters, and then in this one, she introduces a lot more new characters that maybe you've seen a couple times, but now they are much more a part of the story, and they are frequently mentioned. And you just get to see and meet new people to where it feels like a living, breathing world, and you're not just dealing with Harry, Ron, and Hermione and the normal people. You could say that the plot is slower moving versus the other books, because she allows the suspense to build, and I think that all of her books kind of do that, where she waits a long time before she kind of gets to the nitty-gritty of the story, the big action, the big things that happen. But I would say the pacing is really good in this one, in that there is an event that takes place, and there are three separate sections of this event, and you get to experience the first, second, and third, not one right after the other. You get different parts of life that is happening for the characters in between all of those things, which allows J.K. Rowling to add more details into her story. Her writing definitely took a shift. You could tell that her writing was a bit more mature in this one, and I'm not saying that someone like in elementary school wouldn't be able to read it, because I'm sure that they could, but you could definitely tell that the reading level is a bit higher in this one. There is some just like a little bit more difficult vocabulary, and then she also, just the way she writes changed. I feel like in this one it took a big left turn into just how she writes her prose overall. And she included my pet peeve, which I don't know why it's a pet peeve, but I think, what book was it? There was a book that I read recently that does the first part of a sentence, comma, for he blah blah blah. So for example, Harry knew he shouldn't have done this, comma, for he blah 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 knew it wasn't best or whatever. But it's adding that for to make it more like mystical, whimsical. I don't know what they're trying to do. I think it's a very common writing structure, but I just hate it because people tend to use it way too often. And she did use it quite a bit, but it wasn't to the point of, oh man, I need to put this book down, like I can't handle this anymore. It definitely was not to the point of that, but it was just something that I noticed, basically. This book is a lot more sad, and like I said, there are a lot more details in this book. This book tackles a lot more deeper emotional, this story covers a lot more deeper emotional topics, and I really appreciate that. And I think that although these things weren't mentioned by name, like anxiety wasn't mentioned by name, PTSD wasn't mentioned by name, it is still very much in the story, and I like that we're able to be inside of some of the characters' heads, especially Harry, and be able to see what he's going through and how it is truly affecting him, versus where in the movies, obviously you can kind of see it, but it is not, like I said, you just don't don't get in as much detail in the movies. And then as I look back at this book, it definitely feels like a lot happened throughout this book. I don't know if I'm the only one, but like I look back and I'm like, oh, this event took place and this event took place, and this feels like multiple books or multiple movies just in one, and it is quite big, I won't lie. The word count, and I try not to go by page count, I try to go by word count, because it doesn't matter if it's a 1,000-page book if you've only got 100,000 words. Like, you know, you're just making the print bigger just to make the print bigger, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so anyway, tangent. But yeah, it is, in word count, also a longer book, especially compared to the rest. I really appreciate you coming for the non-spoiler version, but if you have not read this book, I would say definitely pick it up. Honestly, it's probably a 5-star just because I can't think of anything to fault it, and I did read it quite slow. I think it took me over a month or so to read it, which is very slow for me, and I started picking up other books at the same time because I started getting in a bit of a slump because I was reading all of the Harry Potter books in a row, and that just... I need my epic fantasy. I need my adult epic fantasy. Not that I need like adult themes or whatever, but just a bit more mature writing, a bit more complex stories, a bit more world building, and, you know, it's just, I needed more. And I love Harry Potter, but it is very specifically, you know, for a certain audience, and I just needed something different. I've been with these characters for a long time. I needed something different, but I will have to say it's probably a 5 out of 5 because this book, so much happened. There's so much emotional depth. I really liked it. The characters that were introduced, I really liked or really hated, depending on who was introduced, and I just loved it. Okay, if you do not know who is with who, that doesn't matter, I won't spoil it, but certain characters do end up with certain other characters, and I will say that I had a weird ship moment. I kind of shipped Fred and Hermione for a minute, and now while all of you are throwing up in your mouths and going crazy, I don't know, like there was something that happened where Fred comes up behind them and has this, like, it's just like a few words that he says to Hermione, but the banter was 10 out of 10, and I was like, wait a minute, Fred, because the banter went so well with her personality for what he said, and I feel like their personalities would go so well together because Fred is so goofy and jokey, but he knows when to be serious. He really does. And Hermione is serious all the time. And I would say that Harry and Ron are quite serious as well. I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of a weird ship that I'm kind of feeling right now, and I don't know why. And I also didn't mind her and Crumb together either, but Crumb is just serious, and obviously they have a little bit of a language barrier, which I don't think that would affect them in the long run. Yeah, obviously she decided not to go to a thing with him during the summer. But anyway, just my weird ship. I really needed to talk to somebody about it, and if anyone else feels the same way that I do, and I feel like no one does, but like just, I can't even find where it was because I didn't mark it, and I really should have, but there was something that he said that I was like, wait a minute, Fred, like he's a little older than her, like, I don't know, like he jokes around a lot, you know, him and his brother, and why not George? It's just because George wasn't the one who said it, it was Fred, and Fred just had to say that. It was just perfect. Anyway, there was a lot of great descriptions that I think that J.K. Rowling had in this book. When the other schools were introduced, I liked the description of the ship coming out of the water and the carriage coming out of the sky and how the other schools were introduced. I thought that was really cool. I actually thought that the Beauxbatons were an all-female school until I read the book and found out that they were in fact not, because there are men. So, I don't know. And the pan in the movie from the Beauxbaton girl's lower body up is unforgivable to whoever directed that, because they're supposed to be children, most of them under 18. Alright, anyway, so let's move on from that. Ron. Most of this is divided by character, so let's talk about Ron. He pissed me off so much. Like, Ron was so annoying with Harry, and Harry kind of annoyed me too, and they're bickering with each other. But I did understand Harry's frustration with Ron. But Ron, Harry is your best friend. Why would you not believe him just because he's in the spotlight? Like, Ron, get over your freaking self and realize that Harry doesn't want to be in the spotlight. You should know that. If you really know him, you should know that Harry does not want to be in the spotlight and has never wanted to be in the spotlight. But Harry does need to be a bit more transparent with his feelings probably about those things, because I think we see it more than Ron probably sees it, because we're always in Harry's head. Oh my gosh, Ron at the freaking Yule Ball, because he starts getting feelings for Hermione, and you can definitely tell that that's what's happening because he's getting jealous of Hermione with Crumb, and Crumb is his hero, and Hermione is one of his best friends. Though, let's talk about it. I'm gonna defend my ship, actually, because I know a lot of people are Draco and Hermione stans. I thought I was, like, for the movies, but for the books, really, no, because, no. Like, he's just so mean. There are so many things that he said that are unforgivable. And let's be honest, Ron bullies Hermione just as much as Draco does, just not to the degree that Draco does. And, yeah, he just treated Hermione like crap. He treated Harry like crap. He treated the girl that he went to the Yule Ball with like crap. He's just treating everybody like crap in the story. And he really made me angry. And I get that he's a kid. But that doesn't mean that I can't be angry at him. I don't know. He was just such a brat. He was so negative. I just really did not enjoy him in this book. Yeah, I appreciate his friendship with Ron. Ron's friendship with Harry, of course, but I'm still mad at Ron. Okay, Voldemort. Let's talk about it. The beginning, his backstory, I was so surprised because I was not expecting that. The way that his followers slowly go into the story and you learn about what a Death Eater is, and then you see how terrible he is, this little creature that he is, and they kill a innocent old man, and they kill the Jorgensen girl from the Ministry, and you just really get to see the depths of Voldemort's evilness, and I really enjoyed that because, you know, you want to be able to experience all of the characters and see what their personalities are truly like, whether they're good or bad, and I really, really liked seeing just how terrible Voldemort was because that makes him such a good villain and that he is so bad. And I don't know, the how you treat your followers quote, I think was from Sirius. I forgot, but it really, it's a problem that I put so many tabs in here because there are so many things that I liked and so many things that I got angry at characters with, and now I'm just like, wow, I can hardly flip the freaking pages to figure out who said what and where it's at in the book, and yeah, my annotating has just done me wrong, I guess. But I still enjoy annotating, and I think that personally it helps me remember the story better just because I'm taking that time to take the tab off and put it in the spot and whatever. I'll figure out where the stuff is eventually. I really enjoyed getting to see the people who are on Voldemort's side. You get to know more of that. You get to know more about, let's see if I have him on the next page. I do, so let's not talk about him yet. I think that's about it for Voldemort. I'm glad that we finally get to see him and that the suspense has really grown into the next book because Voldemort has come back. For Harry, honestly, sometimes when I look back at this book, I forget the Yule Ball even happened, and maybe it's because it made me so mad because of the way Harry and Ron were acting, and Harry was just so obsessed with Cho that he forgot about his date. Ron was so obsessed with Crumb and Hermione that he forgot about his date, and they were both being brats and young boys and just annoying. And I'm not saying that I don't think it should have been in the book, I'm just saying that they made me mad. Like, it doesn't feel exactly against what they would do as characters. If y'all knock over my camera, my cats are fighting. I feel like I say that every video. I definitely do feel terrible for Harry. The amount of trauma that he has been through is absolutely wild. Like, he has been through so much, and I do feel for him a lot. But yeah, the trauma throughout, just, wow. It just starts getting worse and worse when you think that it can't get any worse for Harry. And then I love how Hermione is on Harry's side the whole time. Hagrid's on his side the whole time. The adding Sirius in there where, you know, you're upset because he leaves at the end of the last book, but then he comes in and he's still writing to Harry, and then he comes in at the very end and is able to speak with Harry and kind of help him when he's, you know, basically not dying, but like he was very badly injured. And then Dumbledore, obviously he said some great things to Harry and is just a great mentor to him. Now I know a lot of people don't like Dumbledore because of how the story progresses, but I do not remember the rest of the story. So when you do, go down and comment. Only spoilers for this book because I literally remember absolutely nothing after this book. So speaking of the things that I remembered that the Yule Ball happened, the Triwizard Cup happens, and that Moody was not Moody. That is all I remembered about this book. I thought that Moody was Moody for a certain point and then became someone else, but it just turned out that Moody wasn't him the entire time. It was Crouch's son, which that's a great plot twist in my opinion because I mean, I am not super well read. Now I have a lot of books behind me, but I have not read them all. So, you know, I thought it was very interesting that you see Crouch's son's trial and you think, oh, you know, maybe he could have done something bad, maybe not, but he went to Azkaban. Then Crouch and his wife going, because Crouch's wife is already dying, to put her to a worse death of going to do the polyjuice potion, become her son, and then her son become her so that he can escape Azkaban. I don't know what Crouch was thinking, and I honestly wish I could get inside of Crouch's mind and be like, sir, Barty Crouch Sr., what are you doing? Because what made you think that was a good idea? Why would you give your wife like a fate worse than death to be sent to Azkaban, and every happy thought ripped from her? I mean, maybe it was her idea, because I know that the wife was a lot more forgiving of the son than Barty was. Other things, backtrack a little bit and go back to the Triwizard Tournament. I definitely thought that was going to be a bigger part of the book, but I'm glad that it wasn't. Now, obviously, that is the main plot of this book. That's where everything is going. But when you look at the movie, like, all I could remember was, like, the Triwizard Cup being so cool. And it is still cool, definitely still cool. But you get to see a lot more of how long it takes for Harry to find out what is going on. All of his relationship things going on, all the things going on in his head. Basically, while he is waiting to do all the tasks, I didn't know that they were so far apart. And I'm not saying that it's not in the movie. I'm just saying I haven't watched the movie in many years. So honestly, I forgot. I think I've already mentioned the Death Eaters, and I really do enjoy that plot line of having all these people throughout the world that are supporters of Voldemort, yet we don't know who they are, and the characters in the book also don't know who they are. And I think that J.K. Rowling does such a great job of having us feel like we're a part of the story, because we only know as much as our characters know, except for in the beginning we did get Voldemort's backstory. We knew that it was him in his that little room killing the old guy and everything like that, and that he was coming back. Other than that, you know, there are a lot of things about the plot, like we didn't know what the answers to the different tasks were gonna be. We didn't know exactly how the tasks were gonna go. We had to live through our characters and live with them and figure those things out with them. And I really do appreciate when storytellers can do that in a way that is not aggravating, in a way that just feels like very immersive. Oh man. Snape finding out that he was a Death Eater, I thought that was very interesting. I think that makes Snape that much more intriguing. I don't remember if he was bad or not, but in my mind he's just full-on good guy, but maybe that's me being silly. I think that it's possible that he is kind of going undercover for Voldemort, but we will see as the books go on. I don't really know. Now, they talked about it speculatively in this book, but we'll figure that out. Let's talk about my favorite character, Hagrid. Oh my gosh. Hagrid, like, first of all, one of the topics covered is alcoholism, and it gets covered twice in Alcoholism and Depression with Hagrid and Winky. And the empathy that I felt for them was so strong. Just Hagrid and the state that he was in was so incredibly depressing for me, and it's because, like, I've always felt very attached to Hagrid. And then Winky, I gotta show you, I tabbed it at the top, because that's how important this was to me, was this picture of Winky. This picture of Winky, can you not? That is so depressing. Like, just looking at her state and the title of the chapter being The Madness of Mr. Crouch. If that doesn't make you want to keep reading, I don't know what will, because I was like, what happened to this poor house elf? Because you're already kind of either on the side of Hermione or not, you know, just caring for the house elves and how they're treated and how they're slaves their entire lives and that's how they're lived to be. How bad can Mr. Crouch be that she is in the state of alcoholism to the point where she can't even stand up anymore? Like, that was so sad. It was so sad. Otherwise, let's talk about the ending. It was sad, but it was great for building up the kind of split in power that I feel like we're going to get, and that it's going to be Voldemort supporters versus not Voldemort supporters, and we don't really know exactly who is on whose side, especially with Fudge in the Ministry and how he reacted with Dumbledore, which I wouldn't say that it makes sense, but at the same time, Dumbledore has to let a lot of things slide where, you know, he's let werewolves be teachers and bad things happen there, and then obviously everyone still believes that Sirius is bad. Except for the people who know. And then there is, what else is there? Hagrid being a giant, and a lot of people don't trust them, and so Dumbledore is a lot more forgiving and a lot more trusting than basically everybody else in our story, but he is so wise, and a lot of other people just see him as like a kook, probably. I thought that was really interesting that we are going to be able to meet people that, or possibly meet people that are in Azkaban because of Voldemort's plan he was discussing and having the Dementors back on his side. And that just sounds like not so complex, but I mean, man, for like a kid's story, like a coming of age story, I feel like there are so many elements that she added in here that is like, what is going to happen in the next book? Like, you added so many new characters, so many new things, or at least the things that were mentioned before are now more complex and are now more a part of the story. Same thing with the characters, and I really, really enjoyed that. I'm gonna put the book down because I'm tired of holding it, but I don't know. I really enjoyed this book. I really want to know what you guys think about this book. What are some of the things that I missed that you liked or hated? Characters that you liked or hated? You know, there are plenty we could talk about. Rita, for one, just her being a reporter, that really adds in the annoyance, and the fact that a writer can make you feel anything about their characters just makes them feel that much more real. Whether you are sad for them or depressed for them or you're angry at them, you know, you feel like, oh my gosh, this is real, like this is happening, like Rita Skeeter is real. I want to beat her up. I never want her to be freaking writer again. Speaking of Hermione the hypocrite, the fact that she took Rita Skeeter and turned her into she's an animagus and is a beetle, put her in a jar? How illegal is that? She literally kidnapped a whole adult. Hermione is so smart and so devious. I love Hermione, and I know a lot of people get really annoyed with her because of how smart she is and how she can be a brat sometimes too, but why is no one talking about how Ron is pissing everyone off, or pissing me off and everyone else off in the story? Like, he is so much more aggravating than Hermione could ever be in my mind. And also how Ron is a Gryffindor is really, I mean, yeah, he is kind of brave, I guess, sometimes, but there are a lot of times where he's just like not. I don't know. So, I really hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I will be looking forward to reading the next book. However, I am going to be taking a break from Harry Potter for a little while, maybe a month or so, and I will be picking up Game of Thrones and reading that also, as well as One Piece, because it became available for me in the library, which means I have to read it within like 21 days so that I can get through all of that, just the first volume, get through all of that. And yeah, I'm really excited for this journey. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you want to join me on this journey, I really want to have a conversation with you guys. Give me all the paragraphs that you want. I really want to hear from you guys. And yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope that the rest of your day or night or whatever is great. And yeah, I hope you enjoy reading. Bye. God bless. Of God.